All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something you've probably seen floating around the internet. This idea of using spoken declarations to fight back against, well, what some people call evil patterns. We're going to break down how these declarations are built, what they're for, and the core beliefs that really make them tick, all based on our source material. So let's jump right in. So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you're just stuck in a loop? You know, the same old problems with money, with your health, your relationships, they just seem to show up over and over again. It's that exact feeling, that sense of being trapped on a treadmill, that the material we're looking at today is trying to solve. And this phenomenon, it's given a name: evil patterns. The idea here is that these recurring problems aren't just a string of bad luck or random chance. Nope, they're defined as these repeating cycles of failure, sickness, or loss that are actually caused by specific active spiritual forces. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, here's our game plan. We're going to look at 5 key things. First, we'll talk about the whole idea of breaking these cycles. Then, we're going to dissect the anatomy of these declarations. There's a real formula to them. After that, we'll see how that formula gets applied to everyday problems. From there, things get a bit more intense as we look at what's called spiritual warfare. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the one idea that powers this whole thing: the power of your words. So let's start at the beginning. Part 1, breaking negative cycles. This is all about understanding the fundamental concept here. The main premise is this: a person can actually use spoken declarations as a kind of spiritual tool. And the goal isn't just to cope with these negative patterns, but to confront them head on and break them permanently. It's really all about taking back agency in a spiritual battle. Okay, so if words are the tool, how exactly does this tool work? That brings us to section 2, the anatomy of a declaration. We're going to deconstruct the formula that shows up in pretty much every single one of these statements. It's surprisingly consistent. And here it is. There's a really clear 4-part structure at play. First, you have to name the pattern. You got to call out the specific problem. Second, you make the declaration. You state that the pattern is over. Third, you cite the authority, and this is almost always a Bible verse. And finally, you claim the victory by describing the new positive reality you're stepping into. And check this out. Here's a perfect example of that formula in action. Step 1, name the pattern. The pattern of financial dryness. Step 2, make the declaration: is destroyed forever. Step 3, cite the authority, as written in Deuteronomy 28:12. And step 4, claim the victory: I enter into lasting financial increase. See? It's a precise, repeatable structure, like a recipe. So now that we have the formula, the really fascinating part is seeing how it's used. In section 3, we're looking at targeting life's problems, and you'll see how this framework is applied to a huge range of common human struggles. You can see how this plays out across all these different areas. For health, the problem is a cycle of sickness, and the desired outcome is that health is restored. For career, it's the cycle of job loss, with the goal being that my promotion is secured. The same structure applies to relationships, personal goals, you name it. A negative cycle gets called out, and a positive new reality is declared in its place. And get this, the scope goes even further than just one person's life. This quote shows how these patterns are seen as generational, something that can affect an entire family lineage. So the declaration isn't just for you, it's meant to break the cycle for your family's past and its future. Okay, this is where things take a turn and get a lot more abstract. That brings us to section 4, escalating spiritual warfare. The focus shifts here, moving from tangible life problems to confronting the spiritual forces that are believed to be behind them. So look at this. On one side, you have a very real, concrete problem like job loss. But then it gets connected to something called a demonic calendar. Sickness is attributed to witchcraft attacks. The source material draws a straight line from the everyday physical world to this complex, invisible spiritual world that's believed to be pulling the strings. And the language used to describe these spiritual mechanics, wow, it's incredibly vivid and specific. We're talking about things like a spiritual conveyor belt that carries blessings away, a demonic reset button that wipes out your progress, even an evil archive. These aren't just vague ideas. They're described as intricate systems. And here's a quote that puts that idea directly into practice. The declaration specifically targets and commands the shutdown of that spiritual conveyor belt. The goal is to literally dismantle the metaphysical machinery that's believed to be causing the problem in the first place. So, what's the engine driving all of this? What's the one central belief that holds this entire framework together? Well, that brings us to our final section, the power of words. This is the principle behind absolutely everything we've just looked at. Right. So within this system, a decree or a declaration isn't just talking. It is understood as a spoken command. And the real key is that it's backed by spiritual authority, that scripture reference. And it's intended to literally create a new reality while destroying the old negative one. In this view, words aren't just descriptive. They are creative, world-shaping forces. And this phrase, right here, from the book of Revelation, is often presented as the foundation for this whole practice. The key part is the word of their testimony. It's interpreted to mean that your active, spoken declaration of reality is a powerful weapon. This is seen as the scriptural basis for why speaking these declarations is believed to be so effective. So there you have it. That's our breakdown. This entire spiritual framework is built on a profound belief in the power of words. It transforms personal struggles into battles that, in this view, can be fought and won through declaration. And it really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. What does it truly mean to believe that the words you speak have the power to reshape your reality?